1 bite, 2 bites, from shore to shore. Since it's two-colored, it's really visible in any weather. Hey guys, a big hello to everyone. It's Sergey with you, and this is the YouTube channel Assistance TV. In this video, I'm going to make 5 DIY fishing projects that you're definitely going to like. Last time, I put together a great selection of DIY projects, and you guys said, do something similar. Here you go, here's a little video for you. First, I want to start with a cool bite indicator that you can use at night with a light indicator. It's a wonderful DIY project that will be visible from afar during bites. One bite, 2 bites. First, let's take our horn. This is what it looks like. Guys, we take the wire, which will be the base of our bite indicator. And we take a drill. The diameter of the drill should be about the same as the diameter of our wire. It might be just a little thicker. Our task is to drill a hole right here on this side. After we've made the hole here, guys, let's set this piece of wood aside. And we need to come up with a weight for our wire. I'm going to make a weight out of these. Here are the corks. I'll combine 3 of these like this. They'll be bright and have just the right weight. I'm going to glue them together like this using regular super glue. Friends, there is such a thing. Look, if you are using heavy tackle, rough tackle, you want to weigh it down. Your alarm? Use this olive, which you will simply thread onto this pond in the middle, and it will simply slide for you. Adjust. Wait. I don't need this olive because the corks will be enough for me. That is, now I take super glue, coat the perimeter of the corks and glue them together. And just like that, we stick the 3rd cork on top. You can use 2, 3, however you want. If you want, you can even stuff some small pellets into the middle of the corks. Now our task is to slide our corks on as weights, right here onto our rod. Let's heat this up well. On one side and on the other. Let's slide it through the corks, guys. If we did everything right, we will easily get something like this. The great thing about DIY projects is that you can make them any size you want. I'm going to make it about 30 centimeters long. Here's our bite indicator. Extra edge. We can just take it and bite it off. Now we simply bend the flat whiskers in order to fix our fishing line. We slightly bent it up like this, and now we're going to bend it a little to the side. Now we need a mechanism like this, with batteries and an LED. When we close the circuit, the LED lights up. The easiest way to get it, guys, is from a lighter like this one that has a flashlight. Now we're going to take apart this lighter and get what's inside. This is exactly the kind of mechanism we need for the bite indicator. Let's carefully open the casing so we don't damage anything inside. And inside, we see exactly the kind of mechanism we need. We have 2 LEDs with batteries, exactly what we need for our bite indicator. Guys, now let's tape them together a bit with electrical tape, so they hold on tighter. We have 2 LEDs now. Next, we need to glue them together so that we get a square at this point. They were at such an angle. I found a casing. Here it is, guys, a plastic one. Now I'll cut it and glue them right here. I'm going to glue this using a hot glue gun. We pour a little glue from the gun into the middle. We glued this contact. We do exactly the same with the other one. After we have made our mechanisms, glued them together, we need to take a piece of wire and glue it in the center perpendicularly, right here between them. This is the kind of thing we got, friends, and we take our horn. If the first hole was here, then now slightly below or slightly above it, we need to make the second one. Now we take a drill bit that's smaller in diameter than our wire, so that when we insert it into this new hole, it fits in tightly. So we need to choose a smaller diameter. Guys, it's all about trial and error. I realized that we need another attachment. So, we're going to glue a stick up here and make another hole in this spot so that it can be secured on both parts. Guys, while our hot glue is drying here, I want to say a few words to you. Look, they glow with the same light. So we don't know when the bite is towards the shore and when it's not. There are two straws, a red one and a blue one. They are completely different from each other. We bite off the top edge of one and the other. And now we'll just put them on top of our LEDs here. Now we get red and blue during the bite. We'll be able to tell where the bite is going. As usual, we cast our rod, set it in its working position on the rod holder, and put on the homemade alarm. The bites are made very simply, guys, and very quickly now our alarm is working for the bite. Here they move freely. Now our alarm is working, guys, for the bite. Towards the shore, down, and for bites away from the shore. So it effectively shows the bites. I bent it in such a way that during the hook set, the rod won't scrape against anything and will move freely during the hook set. It stays on the rod holder. Look, here's our alarm during a bite. We set the hook and it drops down. That's really great because when the rods are free, you can easily reel in and cast. Then we just set it up like this, both of them, and now our alarm shows the bite from the shore to the shore. But it would be great if they could be fixed with different colors. Let's say a bite. Towards the shore will be red and away from the shore will be blue. We set our alarm in its working position. Now when we have a bite towards the shore, it lights up red. If it's going away from the shore, it lights up blue. One bite, two bites. From shore to shore. From shore to shore. Friends, a homemade alarm is great, but you can choose something more advanced, something more complex online. I always use it for shopping. A catalog. I really recommend it to you. You can choose everything from tires, vacuum cleaners, and household appliances to all sorts of fishing spots. Let's say we go to the e-catalog, open the tourism and fishing tab, then open fishing here, and we see that we can choose rods, reels, lines, and everything else. But in this case, we need alarms. Bites. Let's look at everything that's available. Here's a long list, starting from the cheapest to the more expensive options. Let's say the cheapest, the simplest ones, like the ones we just made. To wrap it up, of course, if you choose by price, there are many more options. Ending with advanced fishing alarms, which are very expensive. Complete sets. So, guys, you can choose what you need, according to your requirements, your desires, your specifications. And besides that, you can look at any product you want. Compare prices, compare products with each other, and compare online stores. Choose your favorite store and buy it there. I recommend using the e-catalog for all your purchases. That's how I do it. The link to the e-catalog is in the description below this video. Go ahead, take a look. Guys, now I'm going to tell you about an interesting float called a self-hooking float. This is the second version of self-hooking float. The first one I made in the last selection. You see, it already hooked itself. Look at how it looks. This is a little ball on top with an antenna. Down below we have a small hook on a swivel. When we get a bite, it simply hooks the fish by itself. Here is our antenna, which serves as the self-hooking mechanism. We take the swivel and thread it down here. So both on A here is our leash, which is tied here with a hook. When a fish bites, it pulls down, shoots out. The swivel knocks the antenna up and thus makes a strong hook set. What force is our spring adjusted to, and what height do we have it at? In order to make such a float, we need to take a knot from a winter duck. This is a metal bobber that bends well. They come in different stiffness levels, as I already mentioned. We take this bobber at the edge and thread the swivel through it. First we made a small slit here. Now you can see it. This is the slit through which we threaded our swivel. And then we carefully pressed it all back. So this is what we ended up with. A bobber. Here's a small foam ball. They are sold separately. But in this case, I have a ball with the tip-ups. So these are summer tip-ups, or as they are also called, circles. I specifically took this foam ball off the antenna and some kind of core. The keel of our float. In this case, I have a wooden skewer. We take our skewer and cut it down, leaving about 15 centimeters of working length. And we carefully thread it through our ball so that it comes out on the other side. Now we take it. On the bobber, there's a hole, and we just thread it through. like this from the top, and we bend this ball down from the top. So basically our entire system is almost ready. We just need to make a small stopper at the bottom. For this we take some thin wire, we hold one end and just start making tight wraps next to each other. And the other end, this one, we just take and bend it down at an angle and make a small one here. So to speak, here's a little hook like this. Here's the loop for catching our float. And just like that, we use super glue to stick our ball to the base. Just a few drops on the top and bottom. Everything here will hold up. Nothing is going to come off, guys. My hook is a bit too big. I'm taking the bait there. Now I'm wrapping it around. Alright. Here it is. And I drop the line down. We take our fishing rod and make a cast. Let's see how this works. It will all work for small fish. Here it is. And we watch it. You can see the fish biting. Look, now we wait for a bite. Perhaps such a small fish will not be hooked, but if there is something larger, it will definitely hook itself. As you can see, the tackle is of course rather crude, but only for a good, powerful bite. But nevertheless, guys, you can use it for crucian carp if you make it strong enough, and even for small carp. I recommend giving it a try. Well, small fish can't even hook themselves. Only it knocks off our bait, the dough and everything. As I already told you, it is quite difficult to attach semolina to our homemade float because our hook is like this. So, the size and the dough just simply falls off from there. If you fish with a feeder, if you fish with other gear, guys, then during a long cast, dough can be very effective for fishing, but it doesn't hold well because it falls off the hook. There are some options. Some people mix cotton, usually like in their ears, with medical dough, but a fisherman knows and understands that this isn't a good option. Our grandfathers came up with a good way to... How do you use a regular lighter, specifically a flint one, not a piezo, but a flint lighter? You see, take out the micro spring from there and put it on the hook, then the dough will hold well. Our spring, our element, is right here inside. Our task is to take all this apart. My hands are all covered in dough. We open it up, take the wheel, and when we took out the wheel, we have the spring here that was supporting it. A spring of this size, small, tiny, is very hard to find in other elements, guys. You can only find such a spring in a lighter, because in other places where I haven't dug around, where I haven't searched, it's huge, damn, it's big everywhere. But this tiny one is only here. This kind of cup spring will be enough for several hooks. We just take it and thread it through like this as much as we can. And we pull it through one of the loops. Extra edge. We're going to bite it off here, of course. This is what our hook with the spring looks like in miniature. The fish spring will be almost invisible because everything will be covered in dough, but it will hold perfectly. We take the dough and attach it here. The dough fits into the spring, guys, and everything sits perfectly. If you use a large spring, the fish may become wary and all that. And when it's this small and fine, believe me, damn, it holds on for a really long time. You can fish with a feeder this way for anything and attach it. Dough bait, the most effective baits that won't fall off even during a long cast. The next DIY project is a bottom fishing rig for catfish and perch. How we fished with the guys. Catfish, perch, big fish, any other can be caught, guys, on a bottom rig. You can make them yourself. This way with such a spool and equip them correctly. Now I'll show you how to cast it, its setup, and later, of course, I'll show you how to make it. This is what the bottom rig looks like with a big catfish hook. I don't even know what size it is, to be honest. We're unrolling the leader line. Here's our weight, and we're measuring the length we need. So we're unrolling it. The shore is pretty flat. We walk along the shore, pulling out the length of the line, and we're going to do it. Then we cast. Now we just take this edge and stick it into the ground. Now we take it, unwind it like this, and cast it out there further. Guys, we've cast the bottom rig. Now we take this kind of bell and hang it on our line. With a spring, anything, a clip, whatever you have that will hold the bell on our line. That's it. This is what the bottom rig looks like. It's made very simply. The bell. And here is the main part. Here's the kind of board you have, guys. I have this board, and I can tell you for sure, it's about 7 centimeters wide and around 50 centimeters long, like this. We need to make some markings. I want to tell you that somewhere we need to take centimeters, well, somewhere about 25 centimeters. I don't think our board should be any longer than that. Everything here is approximate, nothing is exact. There are no exact measurements, no, nothing precise, so we do everything approximately by eye. Let's find the middle point together. The middle is about, well, let's take, say, 3.5 centimeters here. 3 centimeters. We'll take it from here. And we draw a small line along these 3 centimeters. Everything, again, I say is approximate. Well, roughly, I don't know, we leave a 1.5 centimeter margin. Just a little bit, maybe more. 1.5 centimeter here. And we draw a small line again, just a tiny one, about 2 centimeters long with an indentation. Our task here is to make a cut. The slot should be small here. We also mark these same 1.5 centimeters here, about 1.7, something like that. And we draw another small line. So we end up with 2 lines. At the top, we're just roughly making something like this. Swallow seagull. How do you call this thing? You can make the indentation a little bigger or a little smaller. So here, guys, again, I say it's approximate, and now our task is, so now look. This part will be used for the spindle. And this part will be used as a stand. It's done as follows. We need to have a point here, meaning we will be drawing a line for the point. Draw a line under the point like this, another one. And we will use our check mark here. You can draw it by hand just like that, without any nonsense. And we draw a line like this, you could say a diagonal line now. Further down here, so that all of this goes into the ground. So, for those who didn't get it, we're cutting out this part, where I'm clearly outlining it right now. This line will be the cut. We don't need everything else. Here is where the fishing line will be wound, right here. The fishing line is wound up and goes to this end. And this will be stuck into the ground. And now we simply align everything with our lines. We cut it, guys, using a jigsaw. And now we just sand everything down using sandpaper. After we tied our fishing line to the end, we take it and measure the length we need. Usually this length is about meters. Probably, well, about 20. We wound at least that much fishing line onto our spool. And now we take a weight like this. The weight says 2 ounces, which is about 50 grams, something like that. In my area, I use this one. If you guys have a fast river, then definitely use a heavier weight with some kind of grips. We'll also need a bead like this and a hook for the leader. This is a catfish hook. You see how big it is? As for the weight, if I show you this hook in centimeters, it's about 5 centimeters. Like this, and from the tip to the fore end, it's about 1.5 centimeters, maybe even a little more. But of course, there is a swivel to hold it all together. The swivel is also a big, powerful one. This is the one I will use. Everything we do is threaded through the main line. First, we put the load with this heavy part forward so that it flies well. And we tie it here with you. The swivel goes through the bead, we put the bead on, and then we put the swivel on. When we make the knot, be sure to leave about 5-6 millimeters from the edge like this. For the leader, we use a line with a smaller diameter. I have this one at 0.3, like this, and we attach it here. I want to draw your attention. Now you will see that my hook has such notches on that side so that the worms, ours, would cling better so that the bait would not fall off. Here it is. Guys, this gear is very good. It's made very simply. The main thing is its design. A sliding weight, here it is. On a bead with a swivel and a leader. The leader must definitely be thinner. Main line, if the main line is say 0.6, then the leader should be 0.3. Well, you never know. Suddenly we'll get caught somewhere, something will break, or something else will happen underwater. So that we don't lose our entire setup, but only the hook. Like this. The weight I have is shaped like this. As you can see, it's teardrop shaped. The bead goes on and then the swivel It's all very simple. This is basically the whole setup. The one that you should know that you can use it freely. The next DIY project is a marker float for measuring the bottom and the terrain. You know what this is, I showed it to you earlier. How do you do this? How to measure the bottom, but I haven't told you yet how to make the float. This is what the floats look like. A syringe. The simplest, easiest option that you can make yourself. Let's go. To make such a marker float from a syringe, you'll need a syringe. I found the biggest one for myself at the pharmacy. It's 20 milli. Here, we pull it out, and our task now is just to cut off this cap. It's exactly this cap that we press with our finger when using the syringe. If we hadn't cut it off, it would have slightly flared up during the cast. And this way the float will be more, let's say, aerodynamic. Now we take 2 paints. Our task is to paint it in different colors. This antenna, so we can see it from the side. You can use nail polish, paint something that won't wash off. I have fluorescent nail polish that glows in the dark, like this bright green one. So the float will be visible at night if you charge it in the sun or shine a flashlight on it. And here's the brightest nail polish I found. Red, a kind of burgundy. Now we just take it and paint our edges. So we painted 2 sides, opposite each other. And now we paint the 2 edges, as I said, with red nail polish. You see, it's bright, how nice it is, and it lays down better. While our base is drying, we need to cut these things right at the edge, guys. We cut right at the edge. Now, if you want, you can sprinkle some foam crumbs here. Or just like me, take a piece of foam. And in this way, scoop it out inside. Stuff it in there so that our float has greater buoyancy and better flotation. After we've stuffed in the foam, we need to take the swivel. We take the swivel, guys, of a nice size, like this one. For the tip, we cut not all the way through, but about halfway. It's tapering. We cut it in such a way that our swivel fits in there snugly. With one base, you see, it fits in there really snugly. If you take, for example, a flat shoe and put it in there, it will fit just the way it should. It fits in there very snugly. You can just shove it in and glue it with hot glue, or you can take something else, like I do. I bite off a small piece of wire, take it like this, and thread it through. Here, you end up making such a little loop and thread the middle through there. Now we will glue it all together using super glue, but only an unusual one, and super glue gel super glue works better in such places. Now, we can glue our antenna, we thread it back in until the first poke, so to speak, and that's it, like this. And here our float is almost ready. We just need to pour it into the middle again. Now we use the gel glue to make it airtight, so nothing leaks. You can see that there's gel glue here. The syringe is already airtight, but it will glue it to the base well. Now in this position, we need to leave it until it completely dries. To properly equip the float, we will need a small bead. Here's the marker weight and the float itself. In our case, guys, everything is attached backwards. So, at the very beginning, we thread it through the swivel, first making sure that our weight has the swivel in it. Then we will put our float on through the swivel, and at the end, we will tie our bead. So our entire setup looks like this: the float, the swivel, and the weight. That's how it is, guys, really. We take it and do it. First, cast. Now, after the cast, our task, guys, is to reel in all the slack so that we can feel the weight well with the rod. Right now, I can feel the weight with the rod. You see the weight on the bottom. My rod is bending. What I'm doing is loosening the drag on the reel. And we do things like this. To our ring, 1, 2, 3. And at the same time, we look at the water where our float fell 45. As we can see, our float, there it is, it popped up. It's at 4.5. Look, there it is. That's telepathy. At 4.5, he surfaced for you and me. That's clearly. You can see it over there, and because we painted it, you can see it from a distance, which is what we just did. When we cast, I pulled the line, and we simply stood with you, rested against the weight. As it looks on the bottom, here is where the float goes. Here's the weight, David. When I was measuring this length, I counted the number of gaps to the first ring. Let's say, roughly speaking, we have a meter here. If we count, let's say we have about 70 centimeters here. It was 4 or 5. 4 times 7 is 28. Well, let it be half. Roughly speaking, we have 3 meters of depth. This is how this whole thing works. If you measure accurately at home on your rod, what will you be measuring? This length, you'll know exactly to within 10 centimeters. Again, roughly speaking, what is your depth in this spot? Now we're going to cast a little bit to a different spot. We're making another cast for clarity, a little bit to a different spot. Just a little to the right, closer to the shore. And we tighten our float, reeling in all the slack, until we feel strong resistance from the rod. Here, I feel the bottom. I'm already pulling holes along the bottom. There's nowhere else to go, so let's loosen the drag and go for it. And at the same time, let's keep a close eye on the water. 2. Patro. 5. 6. At 6, you see. At 6, our little float has completely drifted away. Here it is, fully gone at 6. Do you see how clearly it stands out? If it were painted in one color, it wouldn't look the same as when it's painted in 2 colors. The 2-colored one, well, it shimmers. Since this time our float drifted away at count 6. So, 6 to 7, yeah, as we said, about 42. You see, the depth is greater in that spot, around 4.2. Maybe a little less, a little more, but we know the difference, plus or minus. Now we understand that there is a difference between the left and right sides. So that's our simple selection of DIY projects. Write in the comments what you like the most, what you would like to do for yourself. Repeat. And also let me know, guys, what you want me to film next time. Maybe it will be DIY projects for spinning. If you liked everything, I say again, like, subscribe. If you are not subscribed, be sure to, and go fishing. The main thing to remember is that we always go fishing, not just for the fish. Just like that,